Okay, so yesterday I went to watch Fantastic Four as well as Superman back to back, and I thought, why not talk about which I thought was the best? And this is going to be a completely spoiler-free chat as well. It's just a quick discussion on what we think's best here. I'm trying to be objective. I have got an overall favourite, which I'll come to at the end, but I'm going to try and break it down into a few different points and see who wins on what. So first of all, we're going to be talking structure, the actual story. I do think Fantastic Four wins this one because, simply put, at the end, if someone was to ask me, well, what actually happened in the film, you can actually say, this happened, that happened, that happened. I mean, it's very clear from the outset that Galactus is coming to Earth. Fantastic Four have got to stop him. The film is that struggle. The simplicity of the story, it is in some ways predictable, I'm going to say. I think it does allow the four main characters room to breathe. Their interactions, there's so much more you can do with characters when the story is not being plot driven as such. So you do get films, a bit like in the Superman film, there's things happening all over the place and people are reacting, and it's hard to get a grasp of what's going on. But I think in Fantastic Four, it's quite tight script to the point where actually, apart from the Fantastic Four, Galactus and the Silver Surfer, you don't really see any interactions with any other characters, which is sometimes a good thing because it keeps it tight, like I say. Whereas in Superman, I sat and watched it and I thought, wow, that was definitely a film that happened. There's a lot going on, a bit like this sort of video, really, just sort of all over the place, rambling. Why I think Fantastic Four wins on this front is at the end of Superman, if someone's asked me, what happened in that film, I'd sort of struggle to say because a lot of things happened, but it was sort of bitty. It was all over the place, a lot happening here, a lot happening there. And whereas Fantastic Four is a bit more formula, but it works for me. So Fantastic Four wins on that front for sure. The next thing I want to talk about is the actual aesthetics. So Superman, I'm going to praise first and say I like the suit. Man of Steel was more of a sort of realistic take, if you like, on what the suit might look like. It was a lot darker, whereas the Superman suit, it's back to the Superman of old, I guess. The bright reds, the bright blues, the pants. I liked it. I thought it was good. Very, very comic book in it. It's a very comic booky movie, I suppose. Metropolis didn't really have an identity in the same way that Gotham may have done in the Dark Knight trilogy from film to film. It was a very nondescript location. Whereas Fantastic Four, I like to joke, it's a bit like the Jetsons come to life. So you've got that 60s sort of aesthetic, but a futuristic version of that. And it's just so good. And I really like the suits on the Fantastic Four as well. They really vibrant, really bright. Not like the previous Fantastic Four. I think that was sort of a time when a lot of a lot of comic book films were darker. So like as in like visually, you got Man of Steel with the darker blue, Fantastic Four got these darker suits, but we're back to bright, and I like it. I'm going to say Fantastic Four's a lot nicer on the eye, so that definitely wins that one for me. So that's 2-0. The cast now. So the guy who plays Superman, I'm not even going to attempt to say it because I'm just going to butcher it. I can't get it right. I liked him. He brings a warmth to the role, which I think is needed, but I feel like he lacks the sort of authority that Henry Cavill commands, if that makes sense. So Henry Cavill talking to Batman, saying, "Stop, the bat stops now." You sort of felt that. Whereas I can't imagine this new guy going toe to toe with Batman and telling him what's what. Can you? What do you think? I'm not so sure. I like Lois. This is probably the best Lois Lane in modern times. If I could pair her with Henry, I think that would be a perfect combination for me. I like Amy Adams in other films, but I'd never really clicked with her being Lois Lane. But if you could put those two together, I think that would be a really good pairing. And I feel like the rest of the cast were fine for Superman. Nicholas Hoult, I think, killed it as Lex. I really liked him in that role. But where I have problems with that, I'm sort of getting mixed up in my next segment now, which is the actual characterizations. But what's his problem, basically? I think for a lot of the film, it's just Lex Luthor's a dick and he just hates Superman because reasons. Didn't really work for me, that. It wasn't enough. Whereas in Fantastic Four, a lot of films do this now, don't they? Where they know the origin story, so straight into it. I know at first I thought Pedro as Mr. Fantastic. I wasn't sure on that, but he made it his own. He did his own version of it, and I think it really worked. It worked well. He's a good actor. He's never really the person I imagined playing those roles. I never really wanted him to be Joel in The Last of Us, and I still struggled with that, if I'm honest. But as Mr. Fantastic, yeah, I think it worked. I liked it. Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, I thought was fantastic. I've I like that actress a lot. I think I've seen her and she's been really great. There's something about her in this film. I think when you look at previous Sue Storms, just sort of there, but she's well, as she should be, one of the main characters. She is. She owns it when she's on the screen, and I thought she did great actually. I think Human Torch and Thing were great as well. Their respective actors. I thought the chemistry between the four was really good, and like I said earlier, they had room to breathe because of this sort of simple nature of the plot. What I will say is the Silver Surfer. I thought she was really interesting, and I'm not sure they did enough with her really because. No spoilers, but as the film progresses, obviously Silver Surfer has more to do, and her motivations are just sort of very surface level. Things happen, Silver Surfer reacts, and I've just sort of didn't feel like I got enough. The justification for her actions weren't there really. You'll know more when you watch the film, but I thought, oh, okay, that's a bit. It's a lot. Some of that is sort of surface level. I mean, the Fantastic Four's relationship with the outside world, very surface level. You don't really see much of that. It's a very stripped down story, I would say, and I think it works well. We're here for the Fantastic Four. They are, 80-90% of the film. They're in there. As it should be. Can't really say the same for Superman because it's all happening all over the place. So just to touch on the characters, just again, Mr. Fantastic, it was very interesting portrayal because you could sort of see his calculated nature, which is true to his comic book self. So he's a very smart man and he's very sort of confident to the point almost of arrogance, which is something that shines through in the film. Is very much something he's like in the comics as well. I mean, I'm going to say Fantastic Four isn't a sort of corner of the comic book genre that I know as well as others, so I could just enjoy the film for what it was without nitpicking there, which is good. I'm sort of like I say, I want to a bit more towards the end of the film. I like what they did with Johnny. They sort of allude to the fact that he is a bit of a playboy or whatever. I mean that is very much what his character is about as well. But they did it in a nice way. They didn't go, I'm not sure the Chris Evans sort of version would fly now. It was just a bit corny. But like I say, there's not any other characters really in Fantastic Four. So you got Galactus, Silver Surfer, the Fantastic Four. You got the school teacher that Ben interacts with. Can't even remember her name. And that's about it really. You got the guy who does the talk show, and there's a woman. Is she the president? I'm not sure who she is, but I know her as Ted Lasso's therapist. But that's it really. That's the whole cast, from what I can remember. In the Superman film, you've got God. There's people all over the place, and I'm not sure exactly who they all are and what's happening. I feel like there's just too much really going on there, and I feel like that's a film that could have done with being stripped back. And like I say, Fantastic Four, you've got beginning, middle, end. It is sort of paint by numbers a little bit, but it's the first time we're seeing these characters in this rendition in the MCU, so I think it benefits from a bit of a simpler story, and I think Superman might have benefited from something like that. I'm not sure. I feel like there's a better version of that film somewhere. I'd sort of, I was talking about Silver Surfer Galactus. He's very sort of surface level as well. He's just Galactus is here. He's going to destroy the planet. We've got to stop him. Galactus has got, quite well a very rich background in the comics, and I felt like they might have touched on that a little bit more. It, it's a shame. I mean, that could be, a film in itself maybe, but it just suffered a little bit just from a lack of sort of rounding off that character, making it three-dimensional. It's just more of a force of nature, which he is anyway as the character outside of the film. So, there's going to be different schools of thought on that. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Terrific in the Superman film. Every time he was on the screen, I just thought it was great. Nathan Fillion kills it as always. I mean, that whole Justice Gang thing was a nice sort of side plot going on there. But it's a Superman film. Did they need to be there? I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about this film. It's been 24 hours since I've watched Superman now, and I think there's problems there, to be honest. So the Superman debate: who's a better Superman, Henry Cavill or this new guy? For Henry. Henry's my guy. I was really gutted when they let him go, but I feel like he's just sort of he walks in the room, Superman. This is more like Superman Junior, Superman Light. I'm going to say, a bit controversial. If you're interested in Colin's thoughts, you got to check out his. I should have said at the beginning, maybe. Colin did a really great Superman review. You should check it out. He sort of covered off a lot of the points I completely agree with as well. Colin's really good at that actually. He does a lot of reviews, and when I'm watching it, I find myself nodding along. He's definitely got his thoughts on Superman, which is something that I agree with as well. So, of the two, I feel like on paper, and enjoyment wise as well, just watching the film, Fantastic Four, all day for me. I thought that was a much better film, a lot tighter, better characters, better story. I really enjoyed it. I found myself smiling throughout the film, and I think it's probably the best MCU film, God, since No Way Home. Easily in the top 2, 3 since Endgame. Superman was all right. You know, I didn't hate it. I thought it was okay. It showed some promise. I want to say there'll be better films coming up, but out of the two, F4, easy slam dunk for me. That. So those have been my thoughts. What do you guys think? Love to know what you guys are saying about this. Fantastic Four or Superman? Which are you most excited to see? Which do you think was better? Do you disagree with anything I've said? Do you agree? Let us know your thoughts. Until next time, thanks for watching. Keep watching, and we'll see you soon.